introduce the candidates as they make their way onto the stage, podiums. First, we have Mr. Jacob Graham. He is the Republican candidate for the nomination against Ms. Marsha Blackman. And making his way, also we have the representative for Ms. Blackburn is Johnny Blakely. He is the West Tennessee field representative for Ms. Blackburn. Next, we have Mr. Dan Cramer, who currently resides in Clarksville, Tennessee. He is a retired Army helicopter pilot, retired in 2012, and with 2 tours in Iraq. And that is Mr. Dan Cramer. He'll be making his way on to the stage. Dan will be followed by Mr. Credo Amazuri. Mr. Credo. All right. Mr. Credo is originally from West Africa, became a United States citizen 13 years ago. He is a retired combat wounded United States Army veteran and was severely wounded while serving in Iraq. He is also the CEO and founder of a nonprofit organization called the Omafa Foundation and a licensed minister of the 5th Ward Missionary Baptist Church in Clarksville. Credo has dedicated his life to helping others, from assisting victims of natural disaster to children and families in need, as well as numerous military veterans like himself. His commitment to helping others has made him an asset to the citizens and religious community in Montgomery County, where he currently resides. Next, we have Mr. Lenny Gladden. And if you love liberty, you'll love Lenny. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our candidates here for our 7th Congressional District. If you would please give them a round of applause.
We'll begin with Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, benefits to veterans, military families, and survivors of fallen soldiers have been cut when there is a budget crisis. In addition, cuts to Medicare and Social Security continue to hurt citizens. If elected, what are the first 2 areas of the government you would advocate for budget cuts and why?
First and foremost, I would never, not in a million years, support a budget or any kind of cut to our nation's heroes. I think it's absolutely absurd to go for a budget on the backs of our nation's heroes and the backs of our veterans. They've worked too hard and they've sacrificed so much for this nation already. It goes to show you not only what we're willing to do for our current people, but what they're willing to do to the future when they start cutting veteran benefits. So the first thing I would do is I would ensure that there was a separate entity set aside to always pay our veterans benefits, and make sure that that can be touched in a budget. The second thing I would want to do is I would want to make sure that Medicare and Medicaid is safe for our future. Right now we have a lot going on in the healthcare field that needs attention with the ACA and everything, but it's a different subject. This is Medicare, this is Medicaid. It needs to be taken care of separately. It needs to be there to ensure that our in-need and elderly people have health care. So that's the 2 things I would do, is I would set aside one budget for Medicaid and Medicare, and I would set aside a budget for our veterans and their benefits. Hope that answers the question.
Your question.
You have 1 minute for rebuttal.
The only rebuttal I would make to Mr. Graham's statement is that I agree with him concerning not cutting the military. I think we're in the situations we are in a lot of the world today because the military has been cut. But I don't believe the answer ends there. We've seen in the news the last couple of months about what's happened to these military people once they retire. And they need medical care, and it's not pretty. We've got to take care of the retiring veterans and retiring service people And we've got to get this mess with the Veterans Administration straightened out, and we've got to do it soon. The veterans are dying. It's great that we take care of the servicemen and women active today. We've got to take care of the ones who are not active, who have served our country honorably down through the years.
Mr. Cramer, you have 1 minute.
Is there a question, or do you want me to rebut Mr. Brim's discussion?
You can rebut either one of them.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Blakely says that we need to take care of our veterans, and yet Mr. Blakely voted for a budget that cut COLA for working age veterans in order to balance a $6 billion shortfall in the budget deal. At the same time that the military asked for $9 billion less than Congress wanted to give them in their expeditionary fund. So we are balancing the budget on the backs of veterans at the benefit of the contractors who don't need the extra money to run a contingency op that the military doesn't need. Mr. Blakely, or whoever he represents, is the vice chair of a budget committee that came up with this budget. To then disavow the budget afterwards when the flack came in is basically disingenuous. And here's my analogy. A man steals the radio out of your car. A few days later, he brings the radio back to you. He is still a thief. Marshall Blackburn is still a thief for stealing COLA benefits from veterans to balance a budget deal that already overfunded expedition funds that went to contractors. Thank you.
Mr. Credo, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. First, let me say, Mr. Blakely, I've never met you. I have nothing against you, but I don't believe that you are qualified to be here because Ms. Blackburn should have respected this constituency and everyone that put this together to be here tonight. That shows a disregard to the people of the 7th District of Tennessee. And let me say just one thing briefly. I have 1 minute. As your congressman, I will introduce a legislation that will protect military benefit and veteran benefit. They will never be touched again. Because I am a veteran myself, war wounded, and I know what it means. The men and women that serve us deserve their benefit that was promised them when they went. Veteran benefits are not handout. They are well earned and deserve benefit. I am here today to tell you that I have an eviction notice with Marshall Blackburn's name on it. I'm Credo, and I'm going to Washington to represent you. Thank you.
Mr. Lenny, you have 1 minute.
Amelia, thanks for inviting me, and I said I'd move heaven and earth to be here. Basically, my stand is very simple. The VA benefits, the entitlements, Social Security, Medicare, they are not to be touched. My solution is very simple. Cut the size, the cost, the reach and power of government by cutting these agencies. EPA, Bureau of Land Management, Injustice Department, and the rest of it. That's how you're going to prop it up. And I want to say this, Mr. Blakey, you really need to get off the stage. If Blackburn can't show, you don't have any right to be here. So I'm lodging a protest. She's too much of a chicken. She needs to leave. Oh, she needs to go to a $1 million Watergate apartment. That's it. I'm done.
Do I have a chance to respond?
You can.
I have asked the moderator several times what my role was going to be in this. All she had to do was tell me that I was not welcome. I would have gladly stayed down. She never told
You're
me
a British gentleman.
Sir,
You're a British gentleman and a politician, which I'm not.
is that right? So I'm saying what I'm saying now. If the moderator asks me to leave, then I will leave.
Sir, will you please tell us why Ms. Blackburn is not here today?
Why she's not here today?
Yes, sir.
I'll be glad to. Congress is in session. Congressman Blackburn believes she has a sacred duty to be there and to cover the votes. It's not like to miss a vote. She has votes today, she has votes tomorrow, and she could not make it.
Excuse me, sir, do you believe that there was a vote in Congress today? Because let me correct you. There was not a vote, it was a hearing. And I'm sure that if Ms. Blackburn cares for this constituency enough, she will have get on a plane and get back to Tennessee to the people that she planned working for to hear what she has to say. That's it.
That's just like William Thatcher being pulled out of a hospital deathbed to make a vote for more government under Clinton. Nah.
Question 2, let's move on.
All right, gentlemen, we will move on to question number 2. On the November ballot, Amendment 1 will be a choice for citizens to vote on. As you know, Amendment 1 restores the neutrality of abortion within the state constitution and provides more power to legislators to make abortion laws. What is your position on Amendment 1, and why do you think that is the best option for voters? And we will begin with you, Mr. Blakely.
My position on Amendment 1 is that I am for it. I cannot speak for Congressman Blackburn. I don't.
What are you doing here?
With all due respect, she asked me. Well, she asked me the question.
Could we have some other audience members come up and give their opinions as well?
Okay, well, let's
I mean,
let's rephrase the question. Since you're here on Representative Blackburn's, on her behalf, you need to answer according to Representative Blackburn. What is her position?
I have never heard her speak to this.
In that case, we will move on to you, Mr. Cramer.
All right. Well, Amendment 1, as I understand, is a state ballot initiative, and we are running for a federal office. So this would be a decision amongst the voters of Tennessee, and I, as a voter, I'll be voting my conscience on it. Did you have a question on a federal issue with reproductive rights you'd like to address? Okay. Reproductive rights for women. As long as a woman is not free to control the operations of her own fertility, she basically becomes a piece of livestock. If you don't have women educated in how their bodies work with the ability to control their reproductive capabilities, then they are no longer offered the same equality that everybody else is in our society. When Ms. Blackburn supports a Ryan bill that would give human rights to a fertilized egg, and in exchange, as an add-on, allow a rapist to sue his victim for parental rights, then I believe that that end of the spectrum is a little too far for me to go. I'm very encouraged. In this country, there is a decline in the rate of abortions. Even as our population increases, the rate of abortions has decreased dramatically, and that comes from educated women having access to the reproductive health they need to control their own bodies. Luxury that we should all, freedom and liberty we should all enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. Frito. You have 1 minute.
I really want to apologize. His name is Mr. Amusovic. So either we're all Misters and his name is Mr. Amusovic.
We got that, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cramer, I appreciate that, but let me say, my mom named me Credo. I don't get hung on to titles. I'm okay with that. But let me say, when it comes to women and their rights, this is a serious issue. No one has the right to tell women how to run their body. Like my opponents here talk about re-educating women. No one can educate a woman about her own body. They know their body better than anyone else. And let me tell you that I don't think it's the right for anyone, let alone a bunch of dry-up men in the room, to decide what a woman should do with her own body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frito Amusovic. Mr. Lander, you have 1 minute.
Okay, I have not looked into Article 1, Resolution 1. My personal attitude to abortion as a congressman, I will vote no on any bill which increases the size, the cost, extends the reach or power of the government, and abortion and funding for abortion is one of those things. 2, Roe was not pregnant when she sued Wade. And what she did was she went to the ACLU, got a lawyer to sue the state of Texas, and then ran right to the Supreme Court and misused the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to get this practice appointed, whatever. I've been pretty sick the last couple weeks, I'm sorry. It's called Advanced Government Rights, 29, 28, 27. You have a situation where the Supreme Court has made a decision with Roe v. Wade, which was back when I was 18, 19 years old. What needs to happen is the Supreme Court needs to hear it again, throw it out, and hand it back to the states, and let the people of every state decide what the policy will be. Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
As a firm supporter of states' rights, I believe that Amendment 1 is a prime example of that. As it stands right now, our state government is not allowed to vote on abortion. Therefore, the people who are represented by their elected officials are not allowed to be represented on the subject. I support Amendment 1 because it restores the power of our state elected officials, the people who represent us the most, to vote according to our will. Now, it does require that we vote the people in who represent us. But back to Amendment 1, I do support it. It's about getting you, the people, it's about letting your voice be heard on abortion. It's about letting you make the decisions. So I encourage everyone to vote yes on 1 because it gives you rights. It gives you the freedom, once again, to vote and make decisions on abortion. It allows your legislatures to do that, and they represent you, and that's the whole purpose of Amendment 1, is to give that right back to the people.
Thank you. Mr. Cramer, we'll begin with you. What are the first 2 special interest groups you would sign up for on Capitol Hill as a congressman, and why would you fight for those interests? Now, for Representative Blackburn, name 2 that she's a part of and why she fights for those.
You're asking me which special interest groups I will go and solicit first? That's that I would support. Well, in general, and this is the basic difference between Congressman Blackburn and myself, is that my position on the issues are out there. My stands for progressive ideals that the country is built best from the working class up, from the people who go to work every day and contribute to our society. Those messages will attract special interest groups. And this is the difference. I'm going to give you my message. They will come, the interest groups that my message is in line with will come to me. If I go and solicit to go find special interest groups, well, then you end up beholden to those special interest groups. Prime example. If you're looking just for money, well, the Tennessee Walking Horse Association will hold you a benefit, give you $70,000, and the next thing you know, you can support a bill that allows people who abuse horses to self-regulate themselves. And that's what's going on right now. So, yes, I take special interest money. Yes, I'm happy to have the support of special interests that agree with the message of my campaign and my eventual representation. But it's not the other way around. And that's the problem we have in Washington today, is it's the other way around. The special interest group puts the money in, and then their opinion comes out of their congressman's mouth.
Mr. Credo.
I will not dance around the question. Special interest politics is bad for the American people. Let me say it again. Special interest politics is bad for the American people. Like my opponent in Washington, D.C., she worked for a special interest. Not for the American people. Most special interest group in Washington, D.C., or whatever they may be, don't work for the American people. They don't work to support our teachers, our first responders, our firefighters, our police officers. No, they don't. In return, they oppress them by just taking business and dollars. No, I will not go and support any special group, interest group. If there's a group or an organization out there that is fighting to restore the collective bargaining right to the teachers, I'm all for it. If there's a group out there fighting to have equal pay for women, I'm all for that. If there's a group out there that is fighting to protect our children so they can have a safe environment when they go to school, I'm all for that. But beyond that, I don't believe that special interest groups are good for us. We need to take money out of politics. Thank you.
Mr. Lyon.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do support a special interest group. And I'm looking at them. We the people who are sick of this expansion of government, we the people who want less taxes, less regulation, want the government off their back. Now, when it comes to money, I'm not raising any, I'm not spending any, and if you go to my website, voteforlenny.com, and read the thing on the links page called Money in Politics, you'll know where I stand and how we all are being screwed by these politicians. Thank you very much.
Mr. Graham, you have 1 minute.
I got this crazy idea that a representative is supposed to represent the people. It seems to be a foreign concept in D.C., so I don't care about special interest groups. I don't care about them at all. They make no sense to me. I want you to lobby for this and only for this. No, see, there are lots of people in District 7. I mean, let's be real, there's 600,000 people or more. That's enough people that I need to listen to right there. I don't need a group telling me what to do. I want to listen to each and every one of you. And while we might not share the same views on everything, we have the same vision. And that vision is for you to be represented. So that's what I would do. I don't care about special interest groups. I care about the people of District 7. Bring me your wants and your dreams for this district. That's what I'm going to take to D.C.
Mr. Blakely, you have 1 minute.
No response.
In that case, we will move to question number 4, and we will begin with you, Mr. Credo, who does not mind being called Mr. Credo.
I'm sorry.
There have been criticism for years against elected officials that once they are elected, they break campaign promises or they go against the platforms they campaign on. How will you ensure you do not break any campaign promises you make to the voters or go against your platforms once you are elected?
Thank you. On my platform, you will see 3 things. Jobs, the economy, reinvigorate our economy to make sure we grow here in the 7th District. Raise our minimum wage to at least $10.10 an hour. Bring back manufacturing. The only way we do that is by building roads and bridges. 2, education. Leave our teachers alone. Put more funding toward public education. 3, veteran benefits. Those 3 things I talked about. Let me tell you why I'm well positioned to do those things. 1, I have a non-profit organization that works in the community, takes care of people. In 2012, I was selected as the Orchid of Life, meaning an unsung hero for Tennessee and celebrated on Fort Campbell because of what I do in the community. I step up when the elderly need a grass cut. I step up when somebody needs their lights turned back on. When that single mother can afford food, I step in. When this elderly can't get to the doctor, that's what we do. So I believe my record speaks for me. As someone that has worked in the community, as a minister that worked with other ministries, as a man that devoted his life for public service. Let me tell you, my friends, I'm well positioned more than anyone on this platform right now. Thank you.
Mr. Latin, you have 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, politicians have been lying since day one, and a politician or an elected official does not have to honor his platform. That's one of the problems with the system. If I'm elected as your representative to Washington, D.C., I'm going to make you one promise only, and keep this promise. I'm going to look at these bills. I'm going to look at them. And I'm going to ask one question about each and every one of these bills that I'm going to be asked to vote on, whether in Congress, in a subcommittee, in a committee, or in a caucus. Does this bill increase the size, the cost? Does it extend the reach or power to government? And if it does one or all four of those things, I'm voting no. I would do what each and every one of you would do if you were elected. Vote no on any increases in government. We've got too much government, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Mr. Graham, you have 1 minute.
You know, you don't find people that are a man of their word anymore. It's a rarity. I was raised to be a man of my word. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And if I don't do it, I don't mind being called out on it. I signed a letter of accountability to the voters already. I want to be held accountable. How can I do that? I'm a man of God. And if I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, that means I'm a liar. And thou shalt not lie. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage, values that every single service member lives by. These gentlemen live by. They tell us to do the right thing. They tell us to honor our word. And they tell us that we're supposed to be held to a higher standard. That's why I will always, always keep my campaign promises.
Mr. Blake.
Congressman Blackburn believes in reining in out-of-control government spending. She's promised that. Promised to try to lower taxes. The House of Representatives, with her vote, has passed some 40 measures to put people to work, lower taxes, and rein in out-of-control government spending, and they've died for action on the Senate floor. Congressman Blackburn has promised these. She has delivered on her promise. The Senate has not. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend, Mr. Cramer.
I like to think you use my friend too. Well, let's see, I'll take the last part first. As far as Ms. Blackburn delivering on promises, I'm sure we're all encouraged at her valiant attempts to try. However, I think we're expecting a little better out of our representatives. We'd like to see something done. But let's talk about politicians, integrity, pledges, promises, and those sorts of things. Mr. Cramer already alluded to it. He listed off a set of values. They're very familiar to most of us up here. They come right out of the military's core values, and honor and integrity are right there. So talk is cheap. If you want to find out if someone is trustworthy, if they're truthful, look at what they've done, look at their actions, look at their records. So if you have a congresswoman who comes to Nashville and says, I will get you flood relief when the worst floods in 100 years are wiping out downtown, and 2 days later says we don't need to scream Katrina every time there's a little rain, and votes against that exact same flood relief, that's an action you can look at to determine truthfulness. If you look at somebody with a distinguished service career, honorable discharge, 26 years, 8 years, whatever, that's somebody who's demonstrated a commitment to those values of honesty and integrity, and unless you see actions otherwise, there's no reason to doubt them. I received many, sorry, I didn't really read glasses. I received many pledges in the mail they want me to sign, and I send them all back with the exact same piece of paper. It's the oath of office I signed as an officer, it's the oath of office I'll sign as a congressman, and that's the only pledge I take. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cramer. Mr. Lytle. For the challengers, name the top 2 things you have done during your life that have positively impacted the county in which you live. For the incumbent, Ms. Blackburn, name the top 2 things she has done since being in office that have directly positively impacted Hardeman County.
I'm sorry to say I've done nothing to help Hardeman County. I've never been in office, and as far as I'm concerned, what Marsha Blackburn does is she votes no on the bills, and she votes to fund the bills. And if she was so concerned about cutting government, she would stop these bills from going through in committee or subcommittees or caucuses. Now, the only thing I can do as your representative is, as I said, to vote no on anything and everything which would increase the size, the cost, the reach, and power of government, and I will not be bribed with any earmarks. As far as the 2 top things I've done in my life, I've owned my own business for 30 years. I've been stable, and I graduated Rochester Tech, close to the top of my class. I should have went to graduate school, but then I'd be an overeducated idiot. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Mr. Graham, you have 1 minute.
I moved around most of my life. My childhood was spent moving around with the Army, so I just recently, roughly 2-3 years ago, made Chester County my home. So, like I say, the first thing I've done that directly impacted that county is I've served my country and I served it well. The second thing I've done is I've served as a youth pastor and as an interim pastor in both Hardeman County and Chester County in my time back. So I would say I've given back by teaching the most important thing that a man can teach. Thank you.
Mr. Blakely, you have 1 minute.
You said since she's been in office, can I go back for just one thing? When she was in the state senate. State senate was, or the state legislature and the governor were about to pass a state income tax. It was a done deal. It was finished. But Congressman Blackburn, at that time, State Senator Blackburn, said, no, it's not. She got on a radio program. She got people to drive around the Capitol protesting, blowing horns. Income tax was defeated. Since she's been in Congress, she has almost single-handedly, and I'm sure I'll hear some static about this, but she has almost single-handedly kept the state income tax deduction on your federal income tax form. A deduction that former Lieutenant Governor John Wilder said kept millions of dollars in the Tennessee economy, rather than sending them to the federal government.
Mr. Cramer, 1 minute.
I ask you to repeat the question. Kind of went by a long time ago.
Sure. For the incumbent, name the 2 top things you have done since being in office that have a direct impact on Hardeman County. For the challengers, name the top 2 things you have done during your life that have positively impacted the county where you live.
Okay, thank you. I've lived in Montgomery County, the north edge of the district, since 1990 when the Army first sent me there out of flight school. And with the exception of a couple of exotic trips overseas, I've lived there ever since. While there, I started a couple businesses. I own some rental houses, provides there's a fairly large rental house market in Clarksville. It's necessary because of the transient military population. And I've run small retail businesses there. Now, being in the military for 26 years, you're not allowed to run for office while you're in the military. So I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to get myself involved in the political forum. But it's not so much what an individual contributes to the county they live in, so much as what their policies are going to contribute to the district as a whole. So we need to have policies that don't help just Williamson County or just Montgomery County. We need an overall strategy that helps all the rural counties equally in helping to develop infrastructure, bringing jobs back to the rural counties, giving them an opportunity to participate. I can see the stop sign. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Credo, 1 minute.
Let me go straight to the answer. First thing, in the past 2 years, myself and my foundation, in collaboration with the Lighthouse in Clarksville, Tennessee, have put to work at least 250 young men and women. Some of them have broken dreams, some of them are felons. That's what we do. We pick up homeless people from the street and put them in the hotel when it's too cold. When that single mother calls and say we have no food, we take them to the grocery store. Those are just few things I've done. When the flood hit Tennessee in 2010, my group and I, we went and targeted elderly people's homes, cleaned their homes, packed their stuff, take them to the storage. I go to barbershops, youth schools, and talk to people about what they need to know, what they need to do. I sponsor a Peace and Night for children in that county. Every first Friday for the past 3 years, they put them in a good environment. I believe as a congressman I can do better, and I can do bigger, and I can reach further. Thank you.
Thank you. Hannah Candidates will now begin your closing statements. We'll start with Mr. Brim. You have 2 minutes.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time to come out here. I think that just shows that you're involved, and that's fantastic because a lot of people aren't involved. I do want to say one thing. You can't ride for 12 years off of the state income tax that other people helped you with, so you can stop touting that. For far too long, politicians have gone to Washington and chased after their own selfish ambitions and personal political agenda. That's something that I'm not going to do. I'm not running to make a fortune. I'm not running to be a millionaire. I'm running to make a difference. My age makes a lot of people nervous. I get that. My responsibility should tell you a whole lot more. I'm a man of my word. I want your support. I want your vote. I don't care what party you're with. You're a Republican? Awesome. You're a Democrat? Awesome. Guess what? You're an American. And that's what's most important. Far too long have we been a nation that's divided by hyphenations or by groupings. We need to stand firm and we need to say, look, I'm an American. I'm not an African American, an Asian American. I'm not a Caucasian American, a Native American, a Democratic American. It doesn't matter. You're an American. And we need to work together to make this nation great again. And we can do that. We can do that right here, starting District 7. We can say out with the old and in with the new, and let's focus and start moving on to a brighter tomorrow. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Mr. Blakely, you have 2 minutes.
This was going to be part of my opening statement, but for some reason I never got to give one. I don't remember what happened, but I had to come to stage. I've been reading quite a bit in the newspapers, especially the Tennessean and the Leaf Chronicle out of Clarksville and the Baltimore Bulletin Times, about staffers. And they're not going to debate staffers, and, you know, like it's a low life something. I would remind these gentlemen on stage that while they're out campaigning, they need to probably show a little more respect to people. Staffers are people too. Staffers run our universities and our hospitals and McDonald's and places like that. You know, I wouldn't be so quick to condemn people for being a staffer. I work out of Cramer, Tennessee. I don't work out of Washington, D.C. I don't even work out of Nashville, Tennessee. I work out of Cramer, Tennessee. I know the people around here, and I relay the people's concerns to Congressman Blackman. Those who have said, and especially Mr. Brim, and he quoted in the paper that so far as he knew, she had never attended a public event in West Tennessee or in Hardeman County without receiving a check. I made a list of some of the times and some of the places she's attended public events in Hardeman County. And remember, I have 7 counties that I'm field director of, and she has some 18 counties in the district. We just attended a tour and a fundraising trip to the 4-H Center, the beautiful new 4-H, proposed 4-H Center down in southwest Hardeman County. It needs gentlemen's help. If you could lend some influence to the 4-H Center, to the state, to get some funding for that, it would certainly be appreciated. She's attended meetings in Toon, Grand Junction, Whiteville, Buletin several times. She's met with Kilgore 3 times. She's met with ThyssenKrupp 3 times. We have visited with the people in the restaurants and the factories and the businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Blakely. Time out. Mr. Cramer.
All right, well, let me start off by offering an apology to Mr. Blakely, because I know when we got all together, when we got up here, there was, what I wanted to say was that I know you've been caught in the middle of something, and we didn't bring you up here to backdoor you or to call sharpshooter in the Army, and I apologize you were placed in that position. All right, my argument is with your boss, not with you. But, sorry. All right, now let's move on. Thank you. He says staffers not to condemn staff. I have staff. I am grateful for my excellent staff. I would put any of my staff against any of Ms. Blackman's staff. And absolutely. However, that's not the nature of the forum. And when invited to, we can have a gladiator match after and staff. That's not a problem. Sam Axe, anybody a Bird Notice fan, once said, the things that make us angry are the things that make us the most angry, the things we know are true. If Ms. Blackburn really had a reputation of being present in the rural counties, we wouldn't have had to listen to a long litany of events she's been to. If it was true, you wouldn't have to argue about it. You would just say, well, we all know that's not true. I pretty much think I've said my piece. I want to thank the organizers for tolerating the somewhat disorganized beginning, and thank you all for coming.
Mr. Credo, 2 minutes.
Well, Mr. Blakely, like I said at the beginning, I don't know you, but when you want to talk about respect, you should have given us that respect by staying off this stage. And Ms. Blackburn should have given us respect for being here, giving respect to the constituents and the hard-working men and women of this district for being here tonight. Has anybody seen Marshall lately? Let me see your hand, please. That means no. Well, I'm standing here asking for your support today because Tennessee needs a fresh start in a new direction. A fresh start in a new direction where there is fairness across the table. Fresh start in a new direction where our teachers are not beaten upon and we have more money for our public education system. Fresh start in a new direction where we create more jobs and improve our socioeconomic life here in Tennessee. A fresh start in a new direction where our veteran benefits are protected and our service members that are serving now, those who have served and those who will serve tomorrow, won't do it in vain. My name is Credo Amuzovic, and I'm asking for your support. I'm up to the task, but I can't do it by myself. We need a fresh start in a new direction. You have two choices. Someone that has been in Congress for 12 years working for special interests, big oil companies. Someone whose contribution, only 2 came from Tennessee and not even from the district. Or a war veteran that almost died serving his country. Came back and started serving the community and has been doing so for a while now. So ladies and gentlemen, please make the right choice. We don't want to keep going this route. We need a fresh start in a new direction. My name is Credo Amusovic, and I appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you so much.
Mr. Biden, 2 minutes.
Amelia, again, thanks for having me. Thank you for coming out to listen to me. As far as I'm concerned about Marsha Blackburn, she's sitting in Washington with a lobbyist having a $100 dinner. Okay, I'm not going to do that. What I stand for is very simple. I'm not a politician. As a matter of fact, I don't even have a staff. You're looking at it. Oh yeah, my wife helped me get some signatures on a petition. Firecracker couldn't be here tonight. Sorry. I'm one of you. I'm not a politician. I'm a truck driver. I own and operate my own rig, and I got to go back to work tomorrow. Okay? This is what I stand for. Accepting the entitlements, which include the VA benefits, I know. I will vote no on any bill which would increase the size, the cost, the reach, and the power of government, and I will work to cut these agencies back in the reverse fashion they were increased. Each one of these agencies, for example, EPA goes to Congress every year for more money. They go into these subcommittees and these caucuses, I'm going to tell them no, it ain't happening. You're not getting it. And better than that, next year's budget will equal their budget from 2 years ago, and all the new rules, regulations, codes, guidelines, and standards that they have socked on the American people. They've chained us with these rules, regulations, codes, guidelines, standards. They're going to be repealed. They're going to be repealed by defunding it. Marsha Blackburn's smart enough to know how it works. Why hasn't she done it? I still got some time. Jake, I like you, but it's going to take an absolute miracle of God Almighty. You're going to have a choice in November. These 2 Democrats believe in increasing the government. You have a Republican who agrees on voting the way she's paid and increasing the budgets a little bit. And you got Lenny, a truck driver. The website's voteforlenny.com, or Google my name, Lenny Lavner, who's going to vote no on anything and everything, no matter how cleverly it's disguised, that would increase the size, the cost, the reach, power of government. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. No exit. We'll have about a 2-minute break while we get the next candidates ready for their debate.